Oh my goodness. I don't know how to use my phone. This is so sad. Okay, so today I wanted to I have some advice. Okay, and this is mostly for my girls, but guys need this advice too. And that is, you need something that's yours. You always need something to fall back on. You need some security that belongs to you and you alone. Regardless of what your status is as far as your partnerships or your marriage or whatever term you want to use to define that significant relationship that you may have. So, I'm Miss Jenny. When I was in my early 50s, I packed up and I moved to a completely new state, Georgia. I started all over, and if I can do it, so can you. So, a little backstory. A couple days ago, my daughter Valerie, my youngest daughter, called me and said that she was going to go visit her friend who had some appraisers coming to look at a house that she had inherited from her father, who is recently deceased. And she wants to sell the house. And so I was telling her, make sure to let Christine know that she should invest the bulk of that money into something else that's hers and hers alone. And so she says, Mommy, you tell her. So when she said she'll call me when she gets with her friend. So she does. And I was explaining to her that, it's okay to use some of that money to do something fun or special, take a trip, buy a car, whatever she wants to do with it. Just make sure that she puts that money someplace where it's going to earn money for her, that nobody else can get a hold of it, like buy another house or invest it into something through a financial advisor, something long term that's going to help her if a tragedy comes along, okay? And that it's hers alone, that nobody can take it from her. So, don't buy a house with somebody else. And I'm not saying that, we have bad marriages, but things happen. You might think you're totally in love with this person today, and in 10 years, they lose their fleeting mind and, decide to have an affair, or they don't want to be married anymore, or whatever the case may be. Or even worse, maybe you do have a great relationship and something happens and they get laid off, or tragically, they're not here anymore. And you have to figure out on your own how to make things work. So we talked about that, but reality is, I hate to say this, because I know that, you can have good relationships. It sounds really negative, but I just kind of learned the hard way that you always have to have your own fallback. You should never, ever be totally isolated and secluded and completely dependent on another person. You shouldn't do that. And I know that there's a lot of ladies out there, and they have bad names for them. They call them gold diggers. But, to be nice, there's some ladies who really feel like, I've met two different kinds. There's some ladies who feel like they just can't take care of themselves, and that's not true. Okay? You can start out small by learning how to do one thing at a time. Get a small job. You don't have to be, a CEO in a corporation, but just have something that's yours. You don't even have to work full time, work part time, but have some money that belongs to you. Okay? And then there's other ladies who feel entitled, like this man should take care of, or woman. I mean, you know how we live in these times, and not all relationships are guy-girl relationships anymore, but they feel like somebody should take care of them. And that is not the case. You need to take care of yourself, because, like I said, even in the best of circumstances, anything can happen. I know people whose spouses literally got hit by a bus, literally. And now this was a guy, but he's raising 4 children all by himself. And so, that's the flip side of it. This can happen to men, and it can happen to women. Just historically, we know that women tend to make less money in the workplace, and nothing's 100%. So I'm not saying 100%, but we also tend to be the nurturers in the family. And so, yeah, it can be a lot when all of a sudden now you're taking care of kids and that wasn't your main responsibility before. Or you got to figure out how to pay a mortgage and you don't have somebody to help you anymore. Whatever the circumstances are, it could be anything. Maybe your spouse got laid off. I've been laid off. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience for me. It never happened to me before in my life. I've never been fired. And the first time in my life I was laid off, and it was depressing. But And I can talk about that too if you'd like, how I handled that. But in the meantime, I did have a little bit of a side business going, so I had a little bit of money, and I did get unemployment for a little while, and I did manage to get another job, and I was miserable with that. And all these things kind of led up to where I am now. But I always had at least, a dollar in my pocket. I always knew how had a way to make a little extra money, something to get me through. Things may have been tight. There were times when things were really, really tight, but I never starved. I was never starving, and I've never had to live out of my car, although you all might think that, but I really don't. I don't live in this car. I do live right over there. That gate right there, that's the gate to my deck where I live now. So the point is, life is uncertain. Anything can happen. Lots of things happen beyond our control, and it can be devastating. And just to know that in Christina's example, if she pays for a house outright, because she'll have enough money to do that, she'll never have to worry about a mortgage. The most she's going to have to worry about is taxes and insurance. And that's almost nothing. You can't even rent a room for what it would cost her yearly to maintain the financial needs of that house, other than maintenance and upkeep. So yeah, if you could live mortgage free, that would be great. And I know that's not sound tax advice based upon what a lot of people tell you, that you need that mortgage for a write-off. Let me tell you something. I have lived in the real world for a long time. I have lived with a really high mortgage, and it was hard. And I have lived in a house that didn't have a mortgage, and all we had to do was pay taxes. And given the choice between the two, I would rather live mortgage free if I had the opportunity. It's much easier. Figure out another way to get a tax deduction. You don't need that mortgage. But yeah, you might need something to fall back on. So that's my advice. Get a little side hustle. Put something away as best as you can. And don't be 100% dependent on somebody for anything. At least not your money. Not your money. And just a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm just a regular person who's lived a couple years here and there and been through a couple things, and I know what it's like to have some things come up real sudden and you're wondering, how am I going to do this? So that's my expertise. I've just lived a little while. Take it or leave it. Hopefully you'll take it. And I'm getting ready to go to Pet Boys, so I will see you guys again. I hope you like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you found any value in it, and tell me what your side hustle is. I would love to know what you're doing on the side to help with your own financial independence. Bye.